It is 0 hour 30 Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. About 60 people have been killed in a day of violence in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. Shiite gunmen killed at least 42 people in a Sunni Muslim area of the city. Police said the gunmen ordered passengers from cars at false inspection stations. The gunmen moved through the jihad area, then shot civilians with Sunni-sounding names. Hours later, 2 bombs exploded near a Shiite religious center. 17 people were killed. More than 38 others were wounded. Russia news stories say brake failure may have caused the airplane crash that killed at least 124 people in the city of Irkutsk. Investigators say they have found the plane's flight data recorders that could give them important information about the crash. Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared Monday a day of mourning for the crash victims. The airplane was carrying more than 200 people from Moscow to Irkutsk. It reportedly hit barriers as it attempted to land at the airport. Officials say more than 60 people survived the crash and the fire that followed. Many are being treated in hospitals for burns and other injuries. An American official has expressed hope that China can influence North Korea to return to six-nation talks aimed at resolving the nuclear crisis. Under-Secretary of State Nicholas Burns said China is sending top officials to North Korea to seek that country's return to the talks. He said the United States will continue to urge the United Nations Security Council to approve a resolution supporting the talks if the Chinese do not succeed. In Tokyo, American diplomat Christopher Hill is seeking a united international answer to recent North Korean missile tests. He is preparing for meetings with Japanese officials who want the UN to declare restrictions against North Korea. Indian defense officials say the country's most modern missile failed to hit its target. The missile was being test-fired from Wheeler Island off the eastern state of Orissa. Reports say it went about 12 kilometers before falling into the Bay of Bengal. The nuclear-capable missile can travel a distance of about 3,000 kilometers. It would be able to hit targets deep inside Chinese territory. United States Senator John McCain has expressed concern about a possible civilian nuclear cooperation agreement with Russia. Senator McCain told television reporters that he thought the proposed agreement would help Russia more than the United States. He also said it would be wrong to give anything to the Russian government. Senator McCain accused that government of being dictatorial and of oppressing Russian media. President Bush and Russian President Vladimir Putin are to discuss the proposed plan next week at a meeting in St. Petersburg. The agreement would permit Russia to store used nuclear fuel from the United States. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Israel says it will carry out a large military offensive in the Gaza Strip. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert told his cabinet that Israel is involved in a war that cannot be limited to any time period. In Gaza, Palestinian officials say Israeli planes targeted a car carrying Hamas militants. The attack wounded 5 people. In Rafah, officials say a civilian was killed in an air attack against a car carrying members of a Hamas rocket crew. Earlier, armed members of Hamas launched rockets at the Israeli town of Sderot. 1 person was wounded. Israel has rejected a ceasefire offer by the Palestinian government. The ceasefire would have ended 2 weeks of violence that followed the kidnapping of an Israeli soldier. More than 50 Palestinians and 1 Israeli soldier have been killed since then. Mexican presidential candidate Andrés Manuel López Obrador is planning to officially question the results of the presidential election. Results show his opponent, Felipe Calderón, is the winner. Reports say Mr. López Obrador will demand that the votes be counted again. He has said that election cheating took place, and that he will present evidence of this. He also has called for more demonstrations Wednesday to protest the election results. On Saturday, tens of thousands of people gathered in Mexico City to reject the possible victory of Mr. Calderón. Election officials say Mr. Calderón received about 250,000 more votes than Mr. López Obrador. But the Federal Election Tribunal cannot declare a winner until all legal questions are answered. American space scientists have declared the Discovery shuttle free of damage and able to make the trip back to Earth in 8 days without any repairs. NASA says the extra material on the shuttle's heat shield is not a danger and will not have to be repaired during a spacewalk later this week. On Saturday, astronauts completed the first of 3 planned spacewalks. They tested a method that could be used to remove the material. They also tested another piece of equipment during their 7 hours outside the spacecraft. In sports news, Italy has defeated France to win the World Cup football championship during a penalty shootout to end their game in Berlin, Germany. Fabio Grosso hit the winning shot in Italy's 5-3 victory. The teams were tied 1-1 at the end of the first half of play. Neither scored in the second half or in 2 periods of overtime. It was the first penalty shootout in a World Cup final since 1994, when Brazil defeated Italy by a score of 3-2. Briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. About 60 people have been killed in a day of violence in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. Russian news reports say brake failure may have caused the airplane crash in Siberia that killed more than 120 people. And an American government official has expressed the hope that China can influence North Korea to return to six-nation talks aimed at resolving the nuclear crisis. And that's the news in VOA Special English. This is Jim Tedder reporting.